Immediately into the 18th chapter, we heard the second speech of Eliphaz, friend number one, supposed friend number one. And now we have the second speech of Bildad, another friend who, like in the book of Mishlei, would have said, the way to wisdom, keep your mouth shut. Vayan Bildad Hashuchi Vayomar. Bildad from the Shuchite replied, Ad ana tisimun kinsei lemilin tavinu v'achar nidaber. How long? Right? Enough speaking. Put an end to all your talk. Consider, and then we shall speak. Like, you've been very wordy. Okay? Just be silent. Get ready to understand, to hear what needs to be said to you. Madua nechshavnu kabhema nitminu be'enechem. Why do you think of us as behemoth, as animals? Why are we regarded by you as dumb, as stupid? Why are you thinking of us, that he's saying, in this way? Is that the way you really think about us? That we're dumb and we're stupid and we're behemoth and we're unintelligent? And this has come back and forth, right? Iyov has said that you guys think wisdom's going to die, gonna end with you guys. It's going to die when you guys go to the grave. You think you know everything. He accuses them of being stupid. They accuse him of being stupid, right? So this is sort of coming back. This is coming back to that case. Coming back to that sort of question. Continuing verse 4, Toref nafsho ba'apo halmancha ta'azev aretz ve'atak tzur mkomo. You who tear yourself to pieces in anger, will earth's order be disrupted for your sake? Will rocks be dislodged from their place? Gam or rishayim yidach velo yiga shaviv isho. Indeed, the light of the wicked fails. The flame of his fire does not shine. Or chashach ba'o'alo v'neiro alav yidach. The light in his tent darkens. His lamp fails him. His iniquitous strides are hobbled. His schemes overthrow him. Kishulach bereshet beragla vi'al shivacha yitalach. He's led by his feet into the net. He walks onto the toils. Yochaz ba'akev pach yachazek alav tzamim. The trap seizes his heel. The noose tightens around him. Tamun ba'aretz chavlo umalkudato alay nativ. The rope for him lies hidden on the ground. His snare on the paths of Vibiteu Valhot. Vefitzu, the raglav terror assaults him on all sides and sends his feet flying. Right. So what is he saying here? It's pretty terrible. What is he saying here? He's saying to him that you're a sinner. You're evil. You've convinced yourself otherwise. You're walking right back into you're walking into your own trap. You've convinced yourself that you're right and that God's wrong and that there's no justice in the world. You think that's what you think is supposed to be happening. You're the sinner. You're the one. That's why all the horror is all around you. You think that you know everything. You think you're so smart. That's not the reality. There's darkness in your tent simply because you are a sinner. If you go back all the way back to like verse 4, he says, Toref nafsho, right? You tear yourself up to pieces in anger. You think it's all God's fault. You think that God is not running the world. And also in that same verse before this, he says to Iyov, you think that the world should change. You think God should you go back to that for a second. Will earth's order be disrupted for your sake? You think that everything, the truth and everybody else doesn't, and the whole world should change and stop, and God should hear your court case for you. Who are you? You're just a regular guy. You're just one person. You're not anybody special. Now we know from the book, Iyov is sort of somebody special. God has given to him over. He's, like we said in yesterday's chapter, he's the Tofet. He's the one, it's like God has left him there, sacrificing him. He gave him over, as Iyov said in the earlier chapter, not knowing necessarily, but he gave him over to the Evil, to the evil man, to the prosecutor, to the Satan, to take care of him and do as he wished with him. So in a sense, Iyov is Bildad saying, is the world going to change? Are you special? And the answer is yes. The book actually says that he is. But here, Bildad once again is accusing him. Why are you in this trap? Why is terror assaulting him? Why the rope? Why? Because you are a sinner. You may tell yourself otherwise, but you're choshech velo or. You are darkness and not light. Let's continue. We're up to verse 12. He goes further. Yihi ra'ev ono ve'ed nachon litzal'o. His progeny will be hungry. Disaster awaits his wife. This word tzal'o, like tzela, is going back. That's the word that's used when Chava is made from Adam, is that same word. Vayiven Hashem lokim et hatzela asher lakach min ha'adam. God takes from the rib to make the woman. That's why this word is being used here, which is right interesting to note. We have a lot of pre-creation ideas, choshech and or, not so much the Adam and Chava that we have here. But here we're going back to also to one of the early stories in the Tanakh. In the Torah, Yochal, in verse 13, Badei Oro Yochal Badav Bechor Mabet. The tendons under his skin are consumed. Death's firstborn consumes his tendons, right? This is what's going to happen to the sinner. Yinatek me'alo mivtacho v'tatzidehu lamelech bal hot. He is torn from the safety of his tent. Terror marches him to the king. Tishkon ba'oalo miv lilo. Yizoreh al navehu gofrit. It lodges in his desolate tent. Sulfur is strewn upon his home. This word gofrit is used in regards to a stone. Va'amorah, gofrit va'melach. Or it's used, that's in the book of Dvarim, but it's a destruction, it's an eruption, it's a volcano, it's right, it's a sulfur, everything is, all of creation is coming back to dislodge him, to destroy him, because he's choshech, mitachat shorashav yivashu, umima'al yimal kitziro, his roots below dry up, and above his branches wither. Zichro avad mine aretz velo shemlo al pnei chutz. In this verse 17 seems to be a direct answer to some of the stuff that Iyov was saying in the last chapter, or the 2 chapters ago, but in his last speech, right? What does it say? All mention of him vanishes from the earth. Iyov screams in chapter 16, don't cover me, the blood, don't cover me. Remember me, heaven and earth, remember me. What does he say? There's going to be an eruption, there's going to be sulfur, there's going to be an earthquake, right? We might find the ruins of Pompeii, but we won't find Iyov in Pompeii's story. We won't find him. His mention, his name vanishes. He has no name, al pnei chutz, in the world, all over. You will be forgotten. You are nobody special. You're not anybody smarter or brighter than anybody else. And the world is not stopping for you. Yadfuhu me or el choshechu me tevel yin duhu. He is thrust from light to darkness, driven from the tevel, driven from the earth is what's going to happen to him. For those who understand it in a more midrashic way, it means driven from the heavens because you are a sinner. Lo ninlo v'lo neched ba'amo v'ein sarid bim gurav. He has no seed or breed among his people, no survivor where he once lived. We know this has already happened to Iyov. Al yomo nishamu acharonim v'kadmonim achazu sa'ar. Generations to come will be appalled at his fate as the previous ones are seized with horror. I guess then maybe he wasn't forgotten, but his right, if they're going to be understood in the future, what's happened to him. But right, but here he's not being mentioned as somebody who has a court case, as somebody who's being remembered for being a decent person, not being treated properly. He's going to be remembered as an evil person. mishkanot avel v'zemakom lo yada'el. What are the people in the past and the people in the future going to say about him? What is he the example of? This is where the wicked were. Here is the place of the person who did not know God. And of course, what does it mean to know God? Who knows God, but didn't try to know God, didn't try to understand God. And I, when I read this and read the chapter, and again read about the sulfur, the gofrit, and I just think very much back to Stone and Amorah. That's what I think back to. That's what it sort of reminds me of. Are those chapters where we have the destruction of an entire city, and right, Sodom, and the word sodomy, and everything that Sodom stands for, and the horror of the way that they lived, and God's destruction to God's decision to destroy all of them. That's what's being described here. That's what's going to happen to your house, Iyov. You've claimed that you're a decent guy, and you're okay, but that's not reality. And stone there, right? It's like a kivshan. It's described as a kiln, right? Gets up to, who knows, 1,500 degrees or whatever. A kiln, if you ever did glass work or whatever, or different types of work, right? That's what happens. And I was looking for the verse, and now I found it. Right, with God's destruction of Sodom and Amorah, it says, "Gofrit va'esh me'et Hashem min hashamayim." So, right, sulfur and fire come out, and that's what his friend is saying to him. So, to me, when I read this chapter, and when you look really, and there are different places, there are other places, Gofrit va'melech zreifat kol artza, in the curses that come later on in the Torah. But Iyov is being told here, you are a really bad guy. And I think part of the reason it's just getting worse and worse is it's a match, it's ping pong. They're hitting back at each other. And of course, as you hit back and hit back, the hits only get harder. And I guess nobody is hitting it too hard that it doesn't bang on the table in the ping pong match or whatever, right? It's just getting harder and more difficult, and the accusations are getting worse and worse. And as Iyov stands his ground, his friends standing their ground with their understanding that the sinners will suffer, as is the accepted theological understanding in the Tanakh. And his friend here, to me, is really accusing him of being a very horrific person, choshech v'lo or, and images that, to me, go back to stone, something that's going to be covered over, something that's not going to be remembered, other than remembered as to how horrific, how terrible it is. That's how you are going to be remembered, Iyov, not as somebody who brought a case before God, not somebody who was innocent at all, but somebody whose name is going to be similar to that of Sodom va'amorah, somebody who's going to be noted for their terrible, sinful ways. And of course, we know that's not the way, that's not the reality of Iyov is, but his friends don't seem to know it, and we'll continue with his next retort to friend number 2, Bildad. They're not usually specifically to one friend, in tomorrow's chapter.